How are you today?
Uh, I don't know.
I got, I feel the same way. I did want to let you know I didn't manage to get it together before the meeting, but I am going to get it together and send it to you if you still want it. And that is, my daughter has a contact for a group that helps people with in-home churches. Would you
Hmm.
want that information just to investigate further what they have to say?
Well, I guess it wouldn't hurt.
All right, I will get it for you. Hopefully within the next 24 to 48 hours. Some of that will have to do with my daughter. I saw your post. Oh, I think it was in Rethinking God with Tacos. I don't know where.
I
And
put it
and
in
I think you
several.
were referencing this meeting that it was nice to meet with these couple of brothers, but they didn't really understand where you were coming from with
No,
Catholicism.
that wasn't you guys. That was
That was a
my
different
other.
one.
Yeah, my Monday night group. One's a retired Lutheran pastor, and the other is a guy who's still, in the.
Well, but
He's not retired, so and
I didn't
he's
take offense.
completely different background than me. So
Yeah, I didn't take offense or insult to it. As a matter of fact, I understood it because even though I was brought up in Catholicism, I'm not coming from the same place you are as far as struggling with it. And I'm not sure Forrest even came from that background at all. So even if it was us, I didn't take offense. I was just going to let you know I understand. And I think your comment is understandable for this group as well, I guess is what I'm saying.
yeah, yeah, it wasn't this group I was thinking of though. Um, I was just doing some research online and discovered another concept that some sociologists came up with. There, you've heard of the nuns, right? The
Right?
people who check no affiliation. They that could include everything from atheists to just people who are no longer considering themselves of any particular group of. They might all still be religious or spiritual or whatever you want to say, but they don't want to say, Catholic or Protestant or, whatever. Now there's this group kind of this category more corresponds to maybe what this group discusses, which is they came up with the name Duns. We are
Okay.
done, basically done with institutional church. Or then they came up with um, church. I don't think it was a church or basically concept of refugees that that we they they left the church or church, institutional Christianity or whatever, not because they hated it, but just that it wasn't, they couldn't sustain their relationship there anymore. They just felt, ooh, for whatever reason, they just left because the tension was too much.
Gotcha. And
So
they
I'm kind
call it the Duns, Dones.
yeah, but like I say, they oh, these sociologists fine tuned it further to refer to something that seems more like refugees. But they,
I found it interesting. I saw a post, and I've seen this a lot personally as well. And I can't remember who to credit the post to. I don't remember what group it was on. Wouldn't surprise me if it was Rethinking God with Tacos. But basically, whoever made the post was saying that, hey, a lot of us here have deconstructed. We've, left the church and everything else. But when you turn that leaving the church into hating the church, into mockery, I think was the word they used, then that's not good either. That's
right.
not the purpose of growing in your spirituality. And I agree with it. And I have seen that so many times. It's like, you know what? it's all part of the experience, and everybody goes through their own individual experience. And to walk out being angry and mocking them, I don't know what to say. It just doesn't seem right. I guess the best way to put it.
Yeah, I get, I have been poking around in some of these groups. Um, some are more caustic or whatever, like you said, they're more mocking and such that um, it's a little too much for me.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know why it didn't come up on my phone, but I got it here on my computer. Um, oh, they call it an internal church refuge. Well, yeah, there's. I was trying to find a way to describe myself, and
Hmm.
um, it came up with an internal church refugee, alienated from much of the institution's operative culture, but still residing within it because you're remaining committed to Christ's mission, if not abandoned hope of influencing the institution. You're not done with church. You're increasingly done with institutional Christianity, substituting religious maintenance for formation and sending of disciple makers. So that's kind of that's kind of
From what
describes.
you've shared with me and what I know, it sounds accurate. I would
Yeah.
agree.
So and I'm a refugee who hasn't left yet. That's kind of what it ends up.
And in my opinion, there's nothing wrong with that. You
Now the
know, it,
problem is, who do you talk to about it?
yeah,
Who can relate?
yeah.
You don't have a lot
And
of
there,
allies.
I can point you to a lot of people you can talk to about it, but probably none of them are within your church structure.
Right. That's it. I'm a
You're a
strange guy.
misfit. You're a heretic. You're a, oh, wait a minute. They called Jesus that.
Well, a lot of this journey I've been on for the last year and a half um, was some of the forward momentum came from a group called Misfit Ministries, which,
Okay.
which when I got in it, the guy had just started it, they barely, but and it looked like really promising. It looked like it was really going to go places. And then he got busy with other stuff, and it just kind of fizzled. It just kind of sits out there doing nothing. You can
Right.
find
That happens.
it's out there. Just Google or whatever you use to search Misfit Ministries, and it's a guy named Sean Shakarami. He's down in Naples, Florida, and he and I were getting together several times a week and spending hours, plotting and planning, and he even he had a group of people was calling his elders, and I was one of them, but nothing ever came of it. Um, I'm still Facebook friends with all those elders, but we're not
Nobody's
cohesive.
participating.
We're not doing anything. We're not cohesive. Now, one thing I just thought of in the last half hour was, well, you had said that one of the discussion items for today was going to be, should we continue these meetings?
Yeah.
And I'm going, yeah, well, this one, along with the other meeting I got on Sunday night, um, is just a lot of information and a lot of discussing of things, but no real mission per se. Just
Right.
like pooling our ignorance and pooling what little what we think we know. But I was thinking, wouldn't it be interesting to have a podcast where we interview pastors and say, okay, we got all these categories of people who are disaffiliating themselves from institutional the institutional structures. And are we hearing why? Are we listening to why they're disaffiliating? You know, I don't know. It's just,
I think that sounds like a really great idea,
I
Larry.
mean, I watch, like, I've been watching podcasts with Bishop Barron. Like, I watched one yesterday where he was talking to JD Vance for an hour, which was really interesting. And then I started watching one yesterday with Michael Knowles. I mean, Bishop Barron gets a lot of, pretty significant thinkers across the table from him, and you can watch him talking to him for an hour straight, no breaks, just
Right.
real heady stuff. And I'm going, yeah, I'd love to just get his take on nuns and guns, and I don't know. Are we listening to why people? I mean, especially the Catholic Church, it seems like they're all focused on just doing those sacraments like they've done them for 2,000 years, and there's no room for anything else. They're so focused on getting that done,
Taking the steps.
going through the motions, and I don't know. I'm just, it's frustrating. It's lonely,
Frustrating.
lonely,
Yeah.
you know, when
Yeah.
you,
Frustrating and lonely, I would say probably both. And I mean, I'm willing to try to take it on if you want, but I think that's something maybe you might get better success with is
well,
doing a podcast with pastors than I might, or priests in your case, if you stuck to the Catholic religion.
I
And
probably would. I've come from too broad a perspective to just stick with Catholic. I've for 35 years I was nowhere near the Catholic Church. Well, yeah, not really anywhere near. I'd had some interactions with it, but nothing. And then
I
even
think,
after,
Larry, if you're willing to stick your neck out there and give it a try, I think you might be onto something that's going to, A, give you some satisfaction, B, might answer a lot of things for a lot of people out there, and C, might actually help the church from stopping to lose so many people by opening their eyes up to what they're not paying attention to.
and well, like I said, I kind of had the glimmerings of this idea um, different times through over the last however long, but stumbling across these sociologists talking about this category of people that are considered kind of refugees from institutional church. Kind of, I did sit on a one panel discussion once, but it was basically a Catholic group, but they were some millennials or maybe generation XYZ, whatever those are,
Right.
talking about how they perceive things, but they were all people, of that generation who were operating within the church. They weren't
Looks like
really
Forrest joined us.
people that were we weren't really talking to had people there who could speak from the other side. There were
Yeah.
people speculating about what the other side thought. They could speak to it because they were of that generation and they knew people that might be in that alienated from being involved in church things, but those people who were alienated were not there.
Yeah. And we do such a good job at speculating, all of us, including the church. Hey, Forrest,
Howdy.
just to catch you up, you're probably already aware, Larry and I were discussing some of his current frustration, which has been that way for a while, and the fact that he's feeling a little deconstructed from the church, but yet still participating in it and not really seeing any change happen, and wondering how to find his way out of this to do more of something about it. And one of the reasons I wanted to bring you up to speed on it, Forrest, is I have got to step away from the computer for just a few minutes. I will be back, but hopefully you can continue that discussion with Larry until I get back. I'll be
You
right
can.
back.
Bye.
Well, I thought you might be able to help me because I'm kind of in the same boat you are. The only difference is I've bailed totally from the religious institution. I don't go anywhere anymore because I can't deal with the crap. I just can't deal with that crap anymore. I just can't. So I mean, I'm out in the cold, to be honest with you. And I don't really have that much. I've tried to work within the parameters of the organization, the businesses of church, and all I've been met with is absolute stonewalled resistance. So I don't, at this point, Larry, I really don't have a clue.
Well, I'm not dealing with stonewall resistance. I'm just dealing with glacial speed.
Well, you're better off than I am because um, I never got, I've been advocating the relational aspect for years, and both in organized and home church, which I went for several years, and which was just a scaled down version of the big top, the big show. So I just bailed totally. I went, like I say, well, I'll take that back. Up until about a year and a half ago, I went for a full year in the evangelical church that I helped start 30 years ago. And no one was interested in the relational aspect that I presented. It was all a behavioral modification program and a fear-based religion, and nobody was interested in the relational aspect we have with our God and with each other. So that's the last episode that I've been in, and haven't been back anywhere since. I don't know, Larry, that I don't have an answer. I'll be honest. At this point in my life, I have no answer.
I was telling Steve that I've been hunting online for answers to things, and I stumbled across some sociologists that came up with a concept like the nuns, which are those who, like you, if put to a survey or whatever, would check no affiliation. They referred to they put a finer point on it and called them the duns. And I guess you would qualify for that too. The ones who are done with the institutional church, they kind of and then they further refined it by saying they're kind of like refugees. They still had hope for their homeland, but they had to leave just because they couldn't tolerate the tension anymore.
Yeah, we don't have a country. I don't have a country, so to speak, outside of God's kingdom. I mean, that's the thing that I find frustrating is well, keep going, Larry. Keep going.
Well, and then I was using ChatGPT to find my way around it, and it suggested that maybe I could call myself an internal refugee, where I am still in there, still trying to find my points of leverage, but I feel alienated, or yeah, alienated, I guess is the best word I can come up with right now. But then in the last little while, I thought, wouldn't it be interesting to have a podcast where you sit down with people who are in, like pastors, and bring these things up with them and just see what they have to say about, you know, the frustrations that those of us who feel like refugees are experiencing. And the problem is I'm not very good at conflict, and if I got into an argument, I probably would become very, very discouraged. But if they listen and respond, constructively, that would be, I think, very helpful. But then I don't know whether that would happen or not, because they've got a lot of vested interest, a lot of skin in the game when it comes to defending the institutional church as it's running now, right?
Yeah, they got their paycheck dependent upon it.
Yeah, that's it. They can't be very open to the ideas of institutional change, because A, it's a lot of work, and B, it may be their job. Because
My thought on it would be there's no way you're going to find out till you try, one. Number two, if you find yourself in an argumentative situation, I would just end it, because that's not going to end up being a productive situation, and that's someone more interested in arguing their point of view than actually listening and having what do I want to say, intellectual, or a good conversation about something. Um, so that's the way I would look at it, for what it's worth, Larry. And I got to believe there's pastors out there that are willing to converse about it. Now, maybe there's just as equal number or more that aren't, that would rather argue about it. That might be true too. I do not know, because I've never tried it. But I like the concept. I like the idea.
Yeah, so do I. I'd like to sit them down and ask them, okay, where do you find biblically what you're doing in the Bible? Because I can't find it.
Well, I'm afraid that if I came at it from that angle, I would definitely get an argument. And I'm not spiritually, I'm not biblically adroit. Is that the right word? I can't jump around the scriptures quick enough to be able to not just say, oh, I guess you're right, And I'm also one of those poor suckers who listen to people's logic, their arguments, and whoever presented the last best argument is the one I believe. So I can change my mind within a short period of time just by listening to somebody who has a more charisma, more ability to be persuasive. So there's going to be, it's a great idea. I just think there may be people a lot more able to drive that thing than I am. Maybe I should go looking for somebody to co-host it with me who's a lot better at that kind of thing than I am. So that's another thing, is I just don't know that I'm the kind of person. The concept I can wrap my head around. The ability to carry out that concept, I may not be able to do, but I know there are people who could, right? I just don't know who they are right off the top of my head.
I can think of a few, but they're probably so busy, I don't know that they'd agree to it.
Yeah,
I
where are
do
all
get
the retired people? I want to know. It's like, I know there are millions of retired guys out there, but I can't find any of them who have time to do anything,
Right. And what I was going to suggest is, if I'm not mistaken, I think there are actually several, and I'm not sure the exact number, but it's not just a couple, several past pastors on Rethinking God with Tacos. Pastors who themselves have left the church. And I wonder what would happen if you put that proposal out there on Rethinking God with Tacos and say, hey, I'm looking for people who used to have been pastors or something similar to that in the church environment. I'm thinking it would be really educational and helpful for everyone if we started a podcast where we interviewed different pastors who are still currently running churches. But I'm looking for somebody to co-host with me to assist in my theological knowledge, or however you want to word that. You might get a good response, Larry. I don't know. It's just an idea.
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, because when I first think about it, I think of local pastors, people I can sit down with in the same room. But with Zoom and stuff, you really don't need to stay local.
Mm-mm. No. And the nice thing about Zoom is you don't only need to not be local to do the podcast, to do the interview. People can then see it worldwide as
Right.
well.
Yeah.
So it really makes it neat, I think. I think
Well,
maybe now's a good time to interject my earlier discussion point you mentioned, Larry, when I put in the chat that one of the discussion points might be ending the meeting today. That there was two reasons for that, by the way. One of them is purely on me. I have a physical condition with the colostomy bag, and 3 o'clock in the afternoon is typically not a good time for me. Lately, I've been able to get through it pretty good, but today I'm having a pretty rough day. That's where I had to go, and I'm bringing that up first in case I need to go again. And next was the fact of I started questioning. And again, I told Larry earlier, I read one of his posts and I thought he was talking about us, and he wasn't. He was talking about another group he's in with a couple people. I was questioning what good we're really doing in this group. How are we helping anybody? And I felt like, particularly with Larry, knowing where he's coming from, I don't feel like I'm a lot of help or I can help. Forrest, your situation's different, but I could probably say the same thing. I'm not sure how much of a help I can be. On the same hand, I'm going to give you the flip side of that. Are either of you familiar with a podcast run by Mo Thomas? It's through Rethinking God with Tacos, but it's called Taco Cafe.
No,
Okay. They meet once a week on Thursdays at 10 a.m. Eastern. And you probably are somewhat familiar maybe with um, Bob Engel and Rob, I can't think of his name. They're almost always part of it, along with usually 5 or 6 other people. I was attending them regularly for a while, but then my schedule got messed around and I started missing some of them. And now it looks like I'm going to be there this Thursday, but that may be the last Thursday I'm going to be there for a while. And my initial thought was the same. What's the big deal? Who we really helping? And it was funny because, as God does, He puts stuff right in front of my face when I'm having thoughts like that. Two of the people in that group went on and on and on about how much this has helped them in grasping the understanding of union and Christ and being one with Him from the beginning type things, and how much they appreciate the time that's being spent on these meetings. There are a lot of people I know who don't attend the meetings, but watch them later because they do publish them on, well, they're published on YouTube, but he puts the link in Rethinking God with Tacos. And there's a lot of people, I'm going to say like 60, 70 maybe, that watch these that don't attend, probably because of their schedule for some part, fear of being on camera for another, who knows. But I've also seen other comments in there like that. So on the flip side of that, I thought, well, who am I to judge whether we're helping somebody or not? The only difference is with this group, we're not really publishing it anywhere. I do put them on YouTube, but I don't advertise it. I don't put links on Facebook anywhere for people to uh, sit in on my conversations. So anyway, there's my opener for why I said that was a discussion for today on whether we should continue this group or not. And I'm open for thoughts either way.
Well, I'm gonna, I appreciate getting together with people that will simply tolerate me, I guess, because I'll be honest. I've got to be honest. I'm frustrated with rethinking God with tacos. I'm totally frustrated with it. I mean, I posted something on there the other day. In fact, I deleted one of my posts because I just got sick and tired of ignoring it. And what I'm this is where I'm at. I want to be honest. I'm gonna lay it on the line. I bailed from fundamentalism and evangelical crap. I bailed from it. And what I'm finding is I go over to this universalist garbage, and I'm finding the same attitudes, the same mental club-like environment, that I'm just a dumbass because I can't figure this out. And
Yeah.
I have a problem with this. I get, all I get is tautological arguments. I get circular arguments that go nowhere, never
Yeah.
answer my question, and just end it. You know, I mean, I'm tired of that. I posted that one on why isn't there a third option where God just says, okay, you don't want any part of me, that's fine. I'll just put you to sleep. To me, that's something that I would like to have discussion on. Zero,
Yeah.
not one guy. And I'm tired of that crap. I'm tired of all the propaganda about God's been with us since forever. Okay, I don't buy that because Jesus didn't buy it. And until somebody can show me where I'm in error, other than that, I'm 100% with where the universalists are going, because it's John 17 where we're supposed to be united with God. That's the whole crux of it. And I'm with them on that. The only thing that I can't handle is, well, we've always been there. No, we haven't, because our spirits are dead until we accept that gift of regeneration. Jesus even talked about it. And I can't have an intelligent discussion with anybody, because, like, I've tried to get people to define death. They won't touch that. They absolutely won't touch it. And so every question I bring up, I just get sunshined and more or less told I'm nuts. You know, I mean, it's implied. It's not stated, but it's implied. I can guarantee you that.
Let
Well,
me just try to summarize that and state again what your real question is that you're trying to get answered, so I make sure I'm understanding you.
okay.
Forrest.
Well, you want me to?
Yeah. You said you're frustrated and you had it with rethinking God with tacos because you put questions out there and they don't even answer, nobody responds.
Right.
And I'm not sure I followed your question. I'm asking you to restate it so I
Okay.
could kind of
I
understand it better.
I posted a deal on, because I found a site where this person was saying, I'm not suicidal, but I'm just tired. I'm tired of all the bullshit. I'm tired of life. And I got thinking about that. And I posted this on Rethinking God with Tacos. I says, why isn't there a third option where, or just an option where we can just tell God, hey, I'm tired. Just put me asleep and let me be like I was before you created me. There's nothing there. There wasn't anything there then. And I was doing fine because I wasn't aware. You see what I'm trying to say? No one bothered to answer that. And
So when you say put me to sleep, you mean literally die?
yes. I mean, cease to exist. Cease to exist.
Well, obviously that option does exist. There
Well,
are people who commit suicide,
no,
and
well, yeah, but the consequences are still up in the air because I've been doing a lot of research on the Book of Enoch about what happens after death, and I've studied this in the past, but I really got into it this past week or so, and I don't like where Enoch has taken us because it counters what the Bible says. There's only 4 verses in the Bible that define death. Psalms 140, 146, Ecclesiastes 9:5, and Isaiah 26, I think 19, something like that. Those are the only 4 verses in the Bible that define death. And they say there's no thought. You're just asleep. You're no longer a sentient being. And Book of Enoch counters that by saying there's this mountain with 4 cells in it, and you're alive and you are a sentient being. And I can't even go there with any group because that's forbidden territory. But to me, that's where I'm at right now. I'm trying to struggle with what happens after we die, and questions like this. And there's no one out there that wants to deal with that.
yeah.
And that's
And
my frustration.
I saw a post by somebody else in there today that was asking, if we're one with God, we've always been one with God from before time, and that's where we're going afterwards. Where does that mean we're actually going? If we're not going to quote on heaven, where is it that we're going? Where are we going to
Yeah,
be?
I saw that.
And I almost started to answer it, but I didn't. And again, this and any other answer I have is only just my current beliefs and my current understandings. I think I get a lot of them from talking to God, but maybe they're more in my head than I realize. But either way, this is how I was going to answer and my thoughts on it. When I say I believe in God, that means I believe there was a creator who created all of this. And that's us, the earth, and all the wonderful miracles that surround us that most of we're not even aware of, that are all intricately placed to work together for us to have a life here on earth. And I do believe myself, and I know there's a lot of philosophies that don't agree with this, that we were in union with God before we came to earth. That may have been partially by a choice of ours. I don't really know, but somehow we ended up separating and coming to earth to be living here on earth, if you can believe it, as the Bible said. And we were made in his image and given the authority over the earth to boot. So we kind of have the not only power of free will, but the power of creation. And through that, that means every decision we make, every act we make has an impact somewhere, a lot of times that we don't even realize. And I think that when we die eventually and leave the earth, we're going to go back to being in union with him again. That's what I believe. And I don't need to know where heaven is or what it looks like. I just feel good that I know I'm going to be back in union with him. And a lot of things that I've read and heard from people that have had near death experiences, it sounds like it's going to be a pretty glorious experience once we get there. Now, do we go direct, no stop? Is there something we got to go through first? I don't know. He shares a lot with me, but he doesn't share everything with me. I
Right.
don't have all the answers, even though I think he shares a lot with me. But that's what I think. And I guess the closest I can come to answering your question from my standpoint, from my opinion, why isn't there a third option? There is kind of. You can say, you know what, God, I've tried and tried and tried to understand this and find the right answers. And frankly, I am more out. I'm taking a break. I'm not going to worry about it anymore. I'm not going to be involved in it anymore. I'm not going to do anything. And for now, I'm dead to you, or however you want to word it. And my personal belief is it ain't going to ruin your relationship with God. I'll take it a step further and saying if you choose to go that route, you probably aren't even going to surprise him. Um, and you'll be fine. And who knows, you may even come out of that break in a different, better place. I don't know, but I just think there are options if you want to take them. Somehow the option of that, literally taking a gun or a knife and killing yourself, doesn't sound right any more
No,
so than
no,
doing it to somebody
no.
else. But short of that, I think that option exists if you want to do it. Larry, what are your thoughts on all this? You got any?
There's that other group, one of the other groups I'm involved with. The guy who has boatloads of information. He toys around with. He has his opinion on how it all works, and he believes that when you die, it's kind of you're asleep until the resurrection, and then you'll be either resurrected to the good side of the bad place, right?
Yeah.
Forrest is talking about another option where once you're asleep, you stay asleep, and there's no resurrection because just tired of it all, and you don't want to have to worry about whether you go to the good place or the bad place. You just go.
Yeah.
And you're done, and it's over.
Yeah.
You don't have to stress about it anymore. I can relate to that. I've kind of had that feeling, like I'm just tired. I'm tired of it all. It's just like, but it's kind of a form of despair, more or less, and hopelessness that no matter what I do, not only that, not only no matter what I do, but actually you don't really feel like you have any. They call it in fiction that the character has, or what's the word they use? Oh, I've got a guest here. Who invited you in here? Anyway, we're
Hey,
babysitting my.
maybe they've got some words of wisdom.
Well, this one doesn't say much. She just barks. We're babysitting our my grandson's dogs this weekend. So, well, yeah, the ones who live in Iowa City, they went to a concert and left the dogs with us. Anyway, and she just barged in here. Probably wants to go outside. I said outside, and she started for the door. Anyway, the in fiction they call it that your protagonist has to have, and I can't think of the word, the ability to have an influence and do stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's but right now with all the things going on in the world, you just feel like you even wonder whether you really have a vote anymore. With all the talk about voter fraud and everything, you wonder whether your vote ever really went anywhere, right? So you start to have this feeling of utter helplessness. You don't feel like there's all the problems in the world and there's nothing you can do about it. So it does give you that feeling of being just worn out and tired and just what's the use? I have the frustration of, does anything I do really matter?
Yeah, I hear you.
You get to that age where they start telling you about, it starts with your will, and then they have all these other things you got to get your affairs in order, and you feel like all I've got left to do is get ready to die, right?
Yeah.
So I can relate to that feeling of, just what's it all for? Especially when you're when you believe you're supposed to belong to an organization that's helping to save the world, give the world salvation and redemption and everything, and yet you feel like all it's about is just maintaining the institution. So,
Yeah. I think
So
that's the
that,
place a lot of people find themselves in the church, without a
I
doubt.
mean, yeah, the church is all about ladies' aid and the, just a bunch of busy work that's not really pushing any around. And you feel when I was in college, it was reach the world for Christ in your generation, right? And we all felt like we were all part of a mission and something was really going to happen. And then you get out into the institutional church and you feel like you're just slogging through mud,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yep.
just about coming back every Sunday to listen to another sermon, and that's about all there is to it.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are all the frustrations.
I guess my views on that have changed a little bit from the fact that, and I know this still weighs heavy on you, Larry, or at least I believe it does, whether you want to call it evangelism or whether you want to call it disciple making. Um, I went through a period where, I went from not really having much at all to do with church for decades to really getting into the Bible and talking to God and getting really into the Word and really into the fact that I needed, it was basically created a lot of pressure for me and stress coming to believe that there's a lot of people out there that had never even heard of Jesus. And if I don't get to them before they die, they're going to burn in hell forever. And that created a tremendous amount of stress and pressure for me. And I lived under that environment for thankfully less than a year. I forget how many months. But I transitioned from that into more current beliefs that I have now. And that is, I guess, to answer that feeling of lost hope and do I even make a difference? Now, what I believe is that I'm probably not going to save anybody on my own. That's going to be the Holy Spirit's job. But what I can do is live as close to Jesus did as I possibly know how and can. And with hope and faith that I still hang on to, no matter how miserable the world looks or that my vote doesn't count anywhere, that with acts of kindness, caring, and passion, it might have a ripple effect and affect more people and bring them to Jesus than I might ever realize. You know, even things like, let's take today's discussion. Let's say we publish this one, and maybe this time I even put it on Facebook a couple places for people who are also feeling this way, lost in the church, lost in hope, wondering why it even matters anymore, and it rings a bell with somebody and it brings the Holy Spirit closer to them. Then I'm traveling on that faith and hope, and I hope and pray it doesn't change, that for the rest of my life I'm just going to focus on doing what I can do, and mostly through showing love and kindness and compassion to whoever I can, and hope that with faith and hope in God and the Holy Spirit, that it has a bigger effect than what I may ever know. That's where I come from anyway.
I go back to my example of evangelical fundamentalism, Pentecostalism, all that garbage on one side. And then what I've found is a lot of the deconstructionists end over on the universalist side. And I see both sides in error. Okay. I mean, as simple as that. I'm going to be quite frank and honest. I mean, I can't turn away from God because my relationship with God is paramount in my life. And I am united with God. I mean, I may not be united physically, but spiritually, I am united with God. Simple as that. And all I'm trying to do is, right now, I don't see any difference between the left and the right of the demarcations that I pointed out. I don't see any difference at all because everybody talks about love. And I've tried to get people to understand we have one word for love. Greeks have 8. And we think we understand it. No, we don't. We don't. We absolutely don't. And this is bottom line where I'm at. I'm out in the cold. Simple as that. I am out in the cold. I have nobody. Because I can guarantee you, if I didn't, in fact, I rarely post anything or even comment anymore on Rethinking God with Tacos because it's a fart in the wind. I mean, if I do, it's negative, and you're just a dumbass. You don't know what you're talking about. So I don't bother anymore. So I don't have anyone or any group. I'm a nobody. I'm as simple as that. I'm a nobody. Simple as that.
I'm sorry you feel that way because I don't think that's true, but I get what you're saying.
Well, I can guarantee you, Steve, if I would never, and I probably won't post anything on that, there's not one person in that group that would care that I'm gone from that group. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Not one.
Well,
And
that might be true, and it might be true of me as well.
Well, no, I don't see it that way, Steve. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think there's a connection here. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I'd like to think there is, but for the rest of them, no. They couldn't care less whether I hit the bricks or not. And you talk about
no, there's definitely a connection here. I was talking about if I left the Rethinking God with Tacos group. Matter of fact, I was part of his paid group for a while, and I left that, and I haven't anybody come back and plead with me to come back yet.
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
But I just went and looked. The good news is Jason Clark has had such a huge influence that I think he's helped a tremendous amount of people who have been grappling with deconstruction, reconstruction, understanding God without being led by a certain pastor or teacher. He's probably helped a lot of people. On the same hand, he's had such a huge influence, and this is what I just went and looked at. The Facebook Rethinking God with Tacos group has 9.7 thousand members. Well, there ain't no way you're going to get 10,000 members together and have them all think alike, let alone not have some of them who are still defiant, angry, judgmental, set in their ways, sure they have the right answers and not open. They're bound to be in there. That's darn near 10,000 people. And for whatever reason in his wisdom, he made us all individuals. And I think we each have something to bring to the table. And if we don't listen to each other, we're freaking nuts.
We do. I agree. I'm totally in agreement with you on that, Steve. I mean, I've said enough. I mean, but that's honestly where I'm coming from. And I just felt I just had to.
I get it. I get it 100%. And like I said, maybe it'll help somebody else to hear this. Now, Larry looks like he muted himself and turned off his camera. So I'm guessing the dog was getting ready to poop itself. So he went to go let the dog out, save his carpet or floor, or he's there and just being incognito, which is not like him.
Well, whatever you decide to do on the meeting, I enjoy getting together and
at this point,
frustrations, if nothing else.
Yeah, and like I said, 3 o'clock in the afternoon is not typically a good time for me.
Okay.
But on the same hand, I understand for you and Larry, it's a better time. So for the time being, let's keep it going. We'll keep it going, and we'll just see what happens. We'll monitor and play it by ear as we go, and understand that I may have to get up occasionally during a meeting, but I'll leave things running. With that said, though, and Larry not responding, I'm going to go ahead and suggest we do wrap this one up. And if Larry hears this later, I'm praying for you both, brothers, that you find some peace and some direction without feeling like just wanting to be dead, Forrest.
Well, I'm not there. I'm not there. I just saw this. this post on Facebook, and I thought it would be an appropriate share because that person can't be the only person out there. I've thought about it,
Yeah.
you know. I mean,
No, I agree. I was laughing at your farce book comment. You mean if it's
okay.
if it's on Facebook, it's not automatically true?
So
Well,
anyway,
brothers, I'm acting up again, so I loved you, but I'm going to run.
okay, we'll
We'll
catch you
see you
later.
again next week. Same time, same place.
Okay.